Hola a todas las personas que están viendo este video. Yo soy Luis Edgar Cortés y mi compañera es Angie Rueda Flórez. Hoy les vamos a presentar Grammar Speaks About Gender, a Feminist Discourse Analysis of Grammar Examples. Este es nuestro trabajo de grado en modalidad de trabajo de investigación para optar el título de licenciados en lenguas extranjeras con énfasis en inglés. Okay, in our introduction, we explore gender representations in curricular materials because they remain an obstacle to women's equality in education and beyond. Our general objective was to analyze women's representations in the grammar examples from cutting-edge textbooks in order to examine whether or not these attributions reproduce and reinforce gender stereotypes. In our specific objectives were to identify the gender reference sentences within the corpus, to determine the thematic structure of the corpus, to identify and describe the characteristics of the gender referenced grammar sentences and women representation throughout the grammar examples. Also, to interpret and analyze these representations regarding social roles, personal, interpersonal, and intellectual capacities attributed to women. Now, in the methodology, we use feminist research using the framework of discourse analysis and systemic functional grammar. Our model of analysis follows Ayago's proposal focused on corpus composition, semiotic mode reading grammar examples, and mode composition, the creation of an archive in Excel. Also, our observation units were the fourth cutting-edge third edition textbooks. The units of analysis were the 95 search terms. We used 285 gender reference sentences, and the software used was AntConc 3.5.9. We also constructed and used an instrument of analysis, piloting, and data analysis. Now, we will talk about the results of our research work.
Okay, thanks. So regarding the occupational interest, we found two categories, when the profession is mentioned and when the profession is not mentioned. Regarding the first one, women were predominantly teachers and there were certain characterizations. So this profession is long-lasting, low income, low ranked, and they have the approval, they receive the approval of people. Regarding the second aspect, that is when the profession is not mentioned, there was not a correlation because women were attributed abilities such as ambitious, clever, and that didn't match with those roles assigned in the first part. Then we have the interpersonal relationship. So what happens here is that women have different roles in the lifetime. They are mainly related to men, and there are certain characterizations about how good or bad are their relationships with their romantic partners. Then we have social roles. Women are predominantly benevolent, disposed to do good. They take care of people. They are good organizers and they are friendly. They receive approval on these aspects. Then we have emotional states, and women happen to react to things that happens in their lives, right? So they don't do anything to fix, but they just endure. Yes, if they feel upset, they just stay upset and they don't do anything. They are also timid, they are helpless, and finally, in the intellectual capacity, they have this role that was not mentioned, for example, in the profession, right? They have a role that is indicated by the noun students, in which they happen to be incapable, unknowledgeable, and unintelligent. They are not able to pass their exams. They are also portrayed as very good at languages. This means, or this is correlated with the fact that they are very good in the professional stage, in the occupational interest. They're very good at being teachers, language teachers. Now we're going with the second half of our results.
Okay, now we can start with the category of polemic. Here, in some sentences, they recognize the women's struggles, but also women are portrayed as problematic and deviant. In physical appearance, women are judged by the physical appearance compared to others, complimented and portrayed as completely invested in looking beautiful, and looking beautiful to others, especially. In peripheral roles, they lack agency, they are the points of reference in the sentences, and they are always related to someone when they are mentioned in a sentence. In physical capacity, they were mostly suffering and they were ill. They engaged in sports and then they faced physical issues by participating on them. In the category of hobbies, women were mostly disciplined and did not engage in many risky activities. And in the final financial status category, women were mostly economically dependent on mostly men, and they were related to people with wealth, and they inherited this wealth from their families. Okay, now we will talk about the conclusions of our work.
Thanks. So first of all, the majority of the sentences are gender stereotyped. There's also the correlation within some representations themselves, women being represented as low-income teachers, and then in the financial status they not being represented as economically independent. And then we have also that from a systemic functional point of view, these findings elucidate how language actually displays part of our social understandings of the word, and also how language enacts some social and power relationships. But from the systemic functional grammar point of view, there's also said that these meanings can be modified, and we actually found the polemic category that to a lesser extent actually debates and goes against these rigid and predominant representations of women. This also places importance on the classroom practices, because we can just carry on further research on ethnographical scopes, and also with the triangulation asking a student's perception, teacher's perception, also carrying out comparative analysis in which we analyze men's representation. Researchers say that men are portrayed carrying out more punitive and violent behaviors. Then we could also see how certain realities are articulated to women's representation. These are geography, ethnicity, social class, and also sexuality. And here we have the 10 most important references in our work. You can check them out, and you can also see our work there with the code.
QR code, yes.
So thank you so much.